Oh my goodness. Welcome, Sonder family. I'm really glad to see you. It is some kind of hot. I am drippy, weary, wilted. How about y'all? It's just, ugh. But we are here. I needed to say, okay, Malika, that's not fair. It's 65 in San Fran. I love it. Welcome. I don't often get to facilitate a journal prompt social. I'm very, very honored to be able to hang out with y'all as we do a lot of writing tonight. This is writing heavy. If you want, if you want to just hang, visit, that's also, this is your time. We get a notice right on our phones. It's you time. So welcome. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I live in the Dallas, Texas area. And I will be your on screen facilitator this evening as we do the Velocity Journal prompts on page 14. We're going to just do those together, do a little talking about it before we actually dive into the paper. And then we're going to do one of my favorite activities, and that is writing a letter to our future selves. Such a powerful exercise. And I hope you can stick around. I've got a couple of ideas for you to even extend that a little more using other parts of your journal tonight. So I think it'll be um, a pretty good evening. But yes, make sure your pencils are sharpened or your pens have that fresh, smooth ink because we will be doing quite a bit of writing this evening. Let's just start really quickly. Take a moment, take a big O deep breath. Kind of recenter yourselves. It's we're at hump day, so we're making it through the week. Um Joining me tonight, my co-facilitator is the fabulous Malika Agarwal, and she's in a sweater for Pete's sake. I hope y'all can see her popping on to give you a wave. We love you, Malika, but she is going to be hanging out in the chat. She's always so good about guiding the thought process tonight. Sometimes, hanging out with these pages can feel a little daunting, and we just need a little something to give us that boost. And so that's what's so great about being here with our community. And man, yes, a sweat a weather. I love that, Carly. Seeing lots and lots of familiar Sonder family. But if this might be your brand new first time, if you're like, first time caller, long time listener, drop a me in the chat. Let us give you a big welcome. And even if you're in a bad mood, like Kimberly says she's in, we want you here because we just take each other as we are. And so Kimberly, thanks for just putting it out there. I love that. Hopefully when you leave, because you've carved out a little time for yourself, you'll feel a little bit better. I know that when I just listen to the music, sometimes that helps soothe my soul. So I hope that y'all can let's take one more big breath. Deep, deep breaths. We forget to do those deep breaths. We're doing on survival breaths. Let's do those deep ones. Take as many as you need. Make sure that chat's set to everyone. As you can see, that is how we communicate with one another. Quick announcement. Of course, we are going to have a back to school, back to you social led by the fabulous Meha. And you can be school adjacent. You don't have to be an educator or a parent of any, school doesn't have to really directly affect you. We kind of talk about the school vibe in the community. I know I went through like 5 school zones today, that haven't been blinking, and now they are. I live right next door to school. In fact, I have a big old window right across from where I'm sitting, and I share an alley with an elementary school. And so it is popping over there now. I'm thrilled to have those little kiddos back. But so, so that's changing my vibe. Like I go outside and I hear kids screaming, or I try to leave my house at 8 o'clock in the morning and I can't. So yeah, Anyway, love that we are going to have this time to, kind of look at where we are in August and that reminder how can we reclaim the things that we want. We need those freshening up, those tuning ups, right? That's the beauty of our community is that we tune each other up. Here's the community guidelines that we share when we are hanging out with each other because we do want to keep this a space that is safe and productive for you. So we do not tolerate, bullying, that kind of stuff. Of course, kindness and courtesy, that's our trademark. All of y'all are so supportive of each other and so we show up in big ways for one another. And I'm reading the chat and I just saw my daughter's been going topless at home all summer. And so, yeah, she might, Greta, I love that. Yeah, honey, remember to keep your shirt on. Dress codes. So, but we do remind you that this is a very safe, special space that we create for one another when we're here together. Now, even though we are doing journal prompts, which sometimes can get us in our feels, as I was exploring answering these prompts tonight, I thought this one is, I don't know that this is a tissue one. Sometimes we have tissue socials, but I think we'll be okay. You might want to have maybe a couple on hand just in case something gets you in the feels. But I think we're going to find a little more direction and velocity and get excited about things instead of getting all in those feels like sometimes happens. So we are talking about velocity, and I shared this at Monday morning's weekly setup. Y'all, if this is yours, please say me because of course I snap it and I forget whose illustration whose illustrations I've snapped, but somebody posted this in Sonder Club. First off, Christine, I love it. Let's just talk about how good doodling is for our mind, first place, right? And to do it as part of the definition, and then the gentle, unhurried momentum of alignment. Talk about taking charge of velocity in such I mean, it's just great. So thank you. I really appreciate that you took time to put that in Sonder Club so I could drop it into my definition slide because that's better than any quote I could pull off the internet. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all think about what that looks like for you. Gentle, unhurried momentum of alignment. It's really powerful stuff. So I love it. Love it. Thank you again, Christine. And I'm probably going to start trying some doodles in my definition. Tonight, we've got an opening activity. Little brain science is going to be involved with that one. We're going to do the velocity journal prompts on page 14, and then we'll be writing that letter to our future self, as well as having a little add-on to that. Some other things for you to consider. So find a blank space in your journal. This could be your scratch pad, it could be a notes page, or maybe you've got something on your weekly spread, a little space that you could use. You won't need a ton of space for our opening activity. We are working on velocity affirmations, and these are going to be very personal to your life. And I wanted very quickly, we do affirmations, like we check in every day. I will also give you a tip. I don't mark the affirmation off after I've read it because I broke my my streak too many times and it made me frustrated. So I just quit. I just check in and look at it. I don't punch in. So if that's an issue for you, don't feel like you have to affirm the affirmation that you get every day. Because if it gets you frustrated, we're undoing the purpose of the affirmations. That was my way of breaking up with perfect. So we do these all the time. We know they're important, but why? And so this is just a little graphic about the power that affirmations have on your brain. When you write them, when you read them, when you recite them, when you believe them, when you put them on repeat, You create new neural pathways. You are feeding your brain. It's like feeding your brain the fruits and vegetables rather than a candy bar. Like you're putting good stuff in your brain. And when you are filling your brain with the good stuff, it taps down the not good stuff. So we've got new neural pathways happening. We're getting a mental health boost, which goodness, we need those on the regular. Then when that's happening, our our stress levels get reduced. Think about if you've had a rough day, if you can settle for just a moment and read some affirmations and really buy into them, really believe what you're reading, your stress will go down. And ultimately, you just have increased self-esteem, right? It's that self-talk, those little breath statements, breath prayers that you're saying to get that shift in your brain. So there is a lot of science behind affirmations. So we're going to be working on affirmations as our opening activity. Now, I've broken this down. We're going to go through it really quickly, and then I'll go back and forth through these slides as you're working on it. Step one, we're starting with our vector, the direction, and the prompt is write down where you are directing your energy. And so the example is I'm directing my energy toward rest and guilt-free downtime this week. Step two is the acceleration or the catalyst that creates a reaction. What is the force pushing you forward? So, an example for that would be my commitment to savoring simple joys and slowing down is what fuels my mental clarity. And then finally, the velocity affirmation comes together with you're combining both of these into a powerful, active I am or I command statement. And the statement should maybe feel a little intimidating, a little like, ooh, that's pretty bold to put that out there. And the example is I'm boldly slowing my pace to savor the joy around me, knowing that my rest directly accelerates my power. So, the first thing, the direction, we've got some questions here to clarify that. Like, what deserves more of your energy right now? What are you moving toward rather than away from? Where do you want to feel more alive in your life? What part of your life is asking for your attention? Like, if you know, right? If you know, you know. We kind of know what's in there. What do you need to be ready to prioritize? What kind of things are you going to pursue if you stopped worrying about whether it made sense or was practical? Where do you want to create momentum in your life? And what version of yourself are you moving toward? Like, that future you, which we will then be writing a letter to later. So that's the direction. Then the acceleration is the force. What's making you unwilling to stay where you are? Like, enough is enough. What are you hungry for? What are you tired of tolerating? What possibility excites you? What have you been putting off long enough? And if you've gone to any of Mayhaw's recent exclusives, you've been thinking about these things. What experience has changed your perspective? What do you want badly enough to finally act? Who or what inspires you? What are you finally ready to claim? What would make you say, if not now, then when? So maybe one of those will kind of guide you. And then the velocity affirmation is combining these two thoughts into a powerful, active statement. So it's like taking this I am plus an active verb plus direction and the why or the energy that's bringing or what you command of yourself paired with an action, what direction and what is your catalyst. And so there's that, example there. Plus I have a whole bunch of other examples for you to maybe read through. I know, right, Nikki? It does sound so. I was laughing when I'm talking about catalyst reaction. That is not this brain. Um, but a lot of times we will say an affirmation like, "I will be healthy." Well, what does that look like? And so if you'll notice like that, that's usually mine. The third one is I am claiming my health as a priority and building momentum one choice at a time. So really doing some power here, like making them a kind of a big deal, because it's so easy to go, I will X, and but this is kind of like a little mini plan or a little goal built in there. So you can read through those, and maybe something will sort of spark, like you can sub out some words so that it's very meaningful to where you are in your world. So there is no pressure to work through this quickly. I'm going to go back and forth through these slides many times so you can take a look at them as we work on this. So kind of just stop for a moment. Think about where you are, and we're almost halfway through this theme. What is it saying? What are you learning about yourself? And then, of course, we're going to ask you to share in the chat. Let me put on a little bit of music as you start pondering these affirmations. Thank you for taking this affirmation journey with your Sonder family, but for coming in with the ones that you guys have shared in the chat are so good. And I think, I tend to gravitate to reading affirmations and pick and choosing things, but the formation of an affirmation that is just for us, um, with this velocity journey is a pretty powerful exercise. And it is okay if you are not in the headspace to work on that. You are here, listen to the music, jot some stuff down, call the day what it is. It can be a bad day and you're just taking some time for yourself. That's okay. This is being recorded. You can go back and catch this front end if you feel like, I want to go through that exercise again and write my affirmation. There's never pressure to do that. So I'm so glad that y'all are here. And yep, Nikki just finished writing. She's going to get caught up on the chat. So thank y'all for sharing. And if you want to go drop that in Sonder Club as inspiration to others. So yeah. And anyhow, be gentle with yourself as that I am boldly moving into my next chapter. Maybe that's the affirmation that you come up with. Sierra, it says she is coloring. Well, I hope you still come to the coloring social later in the month, Sierra. Okay, let's go look at page 14, the journal prompts. And we always like to take these slowly with one another as we work through them. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to just break it down and start with our first prompt, the first space here. It says, think about a time when slowing down helped you gain clarity or peace. And then think about what you learned from this experience. And so I love this question. And I put a little sloth friend there to remind us that this is the slowing down question. So you might want to start by kind of breaking this question down into some other questions, thinking about like what caused you to slow down. And then what changed once you stopped rushing? And for me, like I'm not a slow person. And so this one hit pretty hard because I don't often take time to slow down. What did you notice about yourself or your situation when you slow down? And is there anything from that experience that you want to carry into this current season of your life? And for me, the first thing that just blared at me was making the decision to retire early. I loved what I did, but my husband was going to had a long time coming layoff. Like he was still retained. They needed his expertise, but we had this slow time of thinking things out. And so I wasn't planning to retire when I did, but I ended up stopping. We had time. We put things in place to meet with like the financial guy, what we were willing to maybe stop doing, really examine our life and our priorities and our core values as a couple, as a family. It really made us have to just slow that down. And so the learnings from that is when you stop rushing around, other things become available to, have it in front of you, be able to make those decisions. And so, one thing that I noticed was I was able to do like the pro list and the con list. Have y'all ever made those before? um that kind of thing. Oh, Rochelle just said she was off on her time. You would have been early if it had been 7:30. I'm sorry, you are fine. We are so glad you are here. You're coming right as we are beginning to work on this. So anyhow, we're going to think about the experience that you had. What does that look like in this season of your life? And so it changed. My decision changed what the season of my life would look like. And then what I realized in that, because I was able to step back, weigh out all the things, kind of think about what could happen, actually led to the answer I'm going to give you for my second response here. But I learned that I can trust myself and that I don't always have to have the answers. By slowing down, I could kind of wait to see what unfolded and roll with it. Because I'm not real good at that. I was always the decision maker. Let's go, go, go. So that's for me. That's the first thing that came to mind. So I'm going to put on some music while you work on this. We want to know, like, what is that thing, that time in your life that helped you to slow down and then gain clarity and peace? I realized I was actually in a toxic work situation when I slowed down and I took that time to really examine, the values that I held. I realized I was hanging on to some things that were not good, and being able to be free of that. So a little bit of rambling from me, but that's the direction I went to. So let's put on some music and let us know what comes up for you. And if you need any kind of support or you've got a story to tell, put that in the chat because we can kind of help each other out as we're thinking through those things. Okay, here's what I notice is that we're thinking about slowing down, and some of y'all had some things, some slowdowns that were forced upon you, like they were health related, either yourself or someone you loved, and then the learnings that came from that, and it's like you found those silver linings and that experience, to care that carries you through and reminds you, like, we get these, life just teaches us lessons along the way, right? And slowing down, responding to a prompt like this, really helps bring those things back to mind. And we are reminded of the tools that we are already carrying, that might just gotten buried underneath in the toolbox. And so thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's for sure. Sierra, it can be a forced slowdown. Like the body keeps scoring. It'll tell you, right, when it's time. But I know that you've shared your journey, Sierra, with, having to slow down and take things easy and working so hard to get the learnings from that, right? And that intentionality. So there's so much life lesson there in being able to slow down. So I'm trying to catch up with the chat. Y'all are amazing. So I'm going to keep reading the chat, but let's go to that second space because we're flipping the side of the coin. And now we're going to reflect on a moment when moving quickly and taking action without overthinking led to personal growth. And then what did you gain from that? And so I've got some prompts, some more questions to break apart that question. Like what was it that prompted you to act? What were you afraid might happen? What actually happened? And then what strengths did you discover because you just jumped in there and took that step? Think about the opportunities that opened up because you moved instead of waiting. You didn't miss opportunities. And how did that experience change the way you approach uncertainty today? And for me, I was talking about we retired early. So then we're retired. And we had talked years ago, like we won't end up being in the Houston area. We had done hurricanes with our parents. And trying to get them to evacuate and secure a house and to listen. And it was a nightmare. And so we just said, we're not going to do that to our kids when we retire. So then we had this slow decision about me retiring and joining Jim. And then COVID hit. And it was like right when COVID hit, and we realized we weren't able to see our children and our new grandson, and so we just thought maybe we ought to think about moving. And so just kind of being in that microclimate of staying in this house and not being, we were afraid, but it was like we're gonna be leaving everybody. We can't have goodbye parties. But everything ended up being really good because we got up here. We were able to be close to the day we moved in. My son and his wife shared that they were expecting baby number two. Y'all know I'm crazy about those grandbabies. I can't even imagine what my life would look like if we hadn't have just thrown that sucker on the market and started looking. We bought our home through a telephone, through a telephone tour. And it all worked out. And that was not our MO. I knew what I wanted. Um, but we did it. And so I think about all the opportunities that we would have missed out on if we had waited and not just taken that leap of faith during that time. So anyway, that one is so powerful for me because it showed me that it's okay to take some risk. I'm not a huge risk taker. I like loyalty. I like being able to count on things. And I learned that, sometimes it's okay to just hold your nose and jump in the water. So, anyway, that's my little, that the other side of that coin. So let's put on some music, and as those things pop up for you, share what those quick thinking decisions did for you in your life. What were your learnings? And how can you embrace that today? All righty. So this one was maybe a little, trickier to answer for some of us, and that's okay. And you know what it made me think of is several years ago, like when gosh, I would say maybe 3.5 or 4 years ago, one of our themes of the month was spontaneity, which was kind of funny because, you had to plan the things to become spontaneous. But it was a real stretch for me because I tend to, think things out and that kind of stuff. I move fast, but I've got my plan in place. And that spontaneity that's what it made me think of, answering this question, what made you feel brave, maybe? Because you just did it. So if it was a little trickier, it felt trickier to answer this one, then maybe what you can do is think about like what look for those moments. Like we look for glimmers in our days. Maybe you intentionally seek those moments of spontaneity, of just not think just jumping in there. um and then I know for some folks that's their personality. They just boom. And I shouldn't have said that, should I? And so, you may not even realize, like, I do that all the time, right? Like you are a quick mover, and you just jump and you deal with whatever's left in your wake later, right? Because you take action. So it really is gonna kind of depend on how you're wired and who you are. So don't overthink that. Maybe again, if this one felt tricky, start looking for opportunities to just do it. Driving in the car, and maybe you start with something small like, I'm gonna go see a movie and I'm gonna go all by myself and feel brave doing that. So yeah, we tend to be overthinkers. I'm an Enneagram 6, and we are the ultimate worriers. And we have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And so like, I'll act, but I usually have 15 contingencies. So like when we moved, that was pretty big because it moved a lot faster than I would have liked it to have, but I just went with it. So you might be thinking about this one for a bit, right? And that's okay. That's why we do these, to open up our brains and our thoughts about our life and the patterns that are in there. So let's take a look at this letter to our future self. And I was telling you that, this can be such a powerful exercise. And I'm going to give you a couple of options. The directions just say write a letter to your future self 1 year from now, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe you go revisit yourself in December, the end of the year. Reflect on the momentum you hope to carry forward. It's really getting that picture in your head about who you want to be in the future. Maybe considering what you're learning about the pace in your life and how you want to feel as you move through your goals. And, some of you guys have mentioned things like toxic workplaces. Maybe this is a letter to that future self that is no longer in that toxic workplace. What does that look like? What has helped you move through your goals with that? Um, Now I want to shout out to Malika because she did a future self letter social a while back ago, and I went and pulled this from what she shared at that social because it's so good. So decide in the future when you'll read it. Maybe you're looking at 5 years down the road because that's what you need. It doesn't have to be tied to the 1 year direction on here. So pick a moment that will matter. Make a reminder in your phone. Maybe, like what's on the slide, a birthday, end of 2026, maybe a life transition. Maybe you just put your last kiddo in college, and so you're going to revisit this upon graduation, where you hope to be at that point as your own self, or just some random date that might be coming up. Maybe there's a milestone that's difficult. I'm thinking I'm going to write mine to be opened on the anniversary of Greg's death. And where I am as I've traversed these months without my best friend brother, right? And so I want to be that person. Start with compassion, not judgment. Your goal is not to criticize where you are right now. If things are a rough season, give yourself that space for that. You're going to look at giving your future self reassurance and perspective. Capture who you are right now. Consider this a time capsule. And I've got a little extra tip for that one. Name what matters most to you. Stop for a moment. What are your top core values? Maybe you write to those two or three things and then end it with a promise and gratitude. And then you might want to check out this website called futureme.org. Malika shared this as well. You can type a letter and it can be private, or you can put it on like a message board blog that can be read. And those are really fun because you can also read a lot of other people's thinkings about the future. So that's kind of fun. So, talking about like consider making this a bit of a time capsule. We have this currently page, and I know a lot of us sort of use this as a mid-month check-in, kind of to realign with the things that we wanted for the month. I tend to use it as middle of the month check-in. I go look at my intentions. I answer these questions based on, all the things I'm doing, writing, wishing, reading, what I'm planning. And so tonight, since we're like smack dab in the middle of the month, I thought if you wanted to write this letter to your future self, but tie it in with your currently page. And then if you save your journals, you've got them both done, and maybe write on your letter, go look at page 39 because it'll give you a glimpse of where you are at this moment and then where you're going to be, or rip both pages out and stick them in an envelope. I know that for some people, no, don't rip them out, but I had to get rid of I had to make some space. So I tear out the biggies that are meaningful to me. So that's also a second way of, looking at this as a bit of a time capsule, and then future self can look back. So you're kind of imagining where you're going to be in the future. And then when you get there, you could go back and look at where you were the night that you started this letter to yourself. So I think there's so much power in pairing those two activities together. So I'll put on music while you work on this. And of course, this is going to be a lot of writing, but if you want to interface with us, do that. Put that in the chat. Let us know what kind of comes up for you as you're visiting some of these things, or even a few things from your currently page. Y'all, I mentioned in the chat tonight that I have always loved to chat and visit and talk to people, and I have report cards to prove it. I am so sorry that I kept you over tonight. I went off camera, I looked at my phone, I was like, holy smokes, where did the time go? So, I am going to drop my Spotify playlist. If you want to keep writing your letter, go to number 13 and 14. Those are the songs that I chose for tonight. I know, right? Where did the time go? I'm so sorry, y'all. But yes, yeah, until it's just we're at time. So share your pages if you're comfortable. I know letters are very personal, so you don't have to do that. But if you want to share anything from tonight, we would love to see that in Sonder Club. Of course, I'm going to shout out to that exclusive that is free that is coming up. You'll want to sign up for that. That's going to be next week, my friends, and it'll be a good one. You know that. And then we shout out for that personal coach. I hope that you're on the platform where you have at least given it a try. And then there is our playlist from tonight if you needed to grab. There it is, Jonah. There's that playlist for tonight. And I apologize again for keeping, I just talk too much. And Shoshana is asking if the back to school is only for moms. Absolutely not. We are embracing the mindset of the fresh start that we kind of feel in community with just that season of back to school. It's actually for everybody. So it is not really related directly to going back to school. So we're just trying to, get on the campaign like Target and their back to school sales. Friends, thank you so much. I really enjoyed hanging out with you and working through those journal prompts and having moments of thinking about, quick decisions, slow decisions, finding our momentum, our flow, our velocity. Thank you. It was really good to gather with you tonight. Make it a good one. I send you lots of light and love.
Stop me on the corner, swear you hit me like a vision. I wasn't expecting, but who am I to tell fate where it's supposed to go with it? Don't you blink, you might miss it. See, we got a right to just love it or leave it. You find it and keep it, cause it ain't every day you get the chance to say